our regular meeting. And Terry, would you do a roll call?
Dale Russell, Max Miller,
Here.
Dale Foster,
Here.
Bobby Toller.
Here. We have one building permit left over from the last meeting, but we had some questions about, and Kevin and Tammy have been able to answer those questions for us. It is a building permit application number 0725055548 at 1625 Mountain Glen Road. Signature of the applicant is Jennifer Garrett. And there's no subdivision, no floodplain, and Kevin has given his approval on it, so you can take a look at it.
Yeah, I saw it last time. I think we were just questioning the amount, and he straightened that out, so I make a motion that we approve.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Foster,
Yes.
Commissioner Toller.
Yes. Okay. We'll drop all the way back down on the agenda to budget discussion. And at the last meeting, we were waiting on some paperwork from IMRF on the early retirement incentive. Terry has received that, and Terry, would you like to talk about that?
Sure. There were, of course, two studies done, one for the select members, sheriff law enforcement personnel, and also the regular members. For the select law enforcement personnel, we have three eligible members that are actually eligible to retire under the ERI, and under the regular study, it shows a number that was presently eligible to retire before this with reduced or full benefits, but because of the early retirement, that allowed 3 additional people, so there's 11 people on the study. Originally I was on the study as number 12, but since the number of years that I have with the county, the email that I received said that my significance or it's negligible as far as cost for the county. So if I retired today or took advantage of the ERI, you wouldn't see hardly any difference there because of that. Which actually makes a total of 12 regular and 3 select members. One of the members in the regular is ineligible. He would have to purchase 6 to 9 months worth of back credit that he is eligible to purchase in order to be eligible to retire under the early retirement incentive. So we don't know if he was going to do that, and I don't think if, did you talk to him? Thomas, yeah. I don't remember, I don't think he actually was looking at it. There was only 5 or 6 that were actually considering it. These costs on here are if every eligible retiree under the ERI actually retired. If you look at the IMRF costs, they're on the third page, I think, of each one of the studies. It shows you the additional liability created by the window under the regular amount. Now there again, let me specify that that's if everyone on the list retired under ERI, which that's not going to happen. The cost for the IMRF cost for the regular is $966,302, and the cost for the SLEP is $355,226. It gives a total of $1,385,498. This can be broken down and paid over a period from 5 to 10 years, and it's through your rate increases is what it is. It's not like the county's writing a check once a year of a total amount of, $100,000, $200,000. It's through the rate increase that would be paid monthly through the levy, through the property tax, which is what's normally done anyway. There's no way of knowing exactly how many could retire. We did talk to everyone, or we did have answers from everyone, and like I said, there was 5 or 6 that actually showed an interest in it. The rest of them were concerned about insurance, or they just weren't ready to retire yet for whatever reason. IMRF always says that in order for this to be effective, you either need to replace the employees with 80% salary reductions, or through attrition, not filling the space. Now, I know you talked about in some cases there would be attrition, or there's possibly could be, maybe not. That's up to you guys to decide on that, how you want to do that. But I can tell you through just throwing some figures together, the difference between a level 3 and a level 1 is about 30% difference. So you would be saving about 30% on each person if you just went from a level 3 retiree and hired back to level 1. Now that's only considering salary. That's not considering IMRF benefits. That's not considering FICA or anything else, because those costs would be reduced also at that time. So that's just if you just replaced the level 3s to level 1. In the sheriff's office, it's even more of a difference. You would save even more. Scott didn't give me a figure. I asked him, but he said, when I told him what the level 3 to level 1, he said, well, his highest pay that would be retiring compared to what the new ones would be brought in at would be even more savings. So, do you have any questions? I know it's, both of these studies are exactly the same. One is just for regular IMRF, one is for SLEP.
And are these, or Terry, are these numbers close to kind of what you?
I just got them this morning. So
Yeah, we didn't know what these numbers were going to be. Now, I did learn something different. When we talked to the individual retirees, I kind of figured their cost, and I used their final rate of earnings, which is 48 highest consecutive months out of their last 10 years. Their cost actually is their final rate of earnings in the last 12 months, their highest 12 months, not out of 48, it's their highest 12 months. So it's going to cost them a little bit more than what I told them it would cost them, and we told them when we figured that this is not exact, this is just ballpark figure. So they're all aware of that it could be a little more than what we told them, and most of them do have sick time that they're going to be paid out, and that has to be used to pay IMRF. We have to write the check to IMRF for that sick time, and what we would do is the ones that would retire, we would get a bill from IMRF that's saying this is how much they have to pay, and then we have to take the money that we owe them through accumulated sick time, vacation time, whatever it is, and pay IMRF directly for that amount. If there's any left over, then the employee gets the remainder. If it doesn't cover it, then the employee owes that amount, then they have up to 24 months interest-free in order to pay the remaining amount. It would actually be held out of their IMRF check is what it would be.
Terry, what's the current IMRF rate for regular, do you know, for the employers?
11.19.
When she said this stuff, did she just send it as a PDF, or is it in Excel where I can see how she calculated
It's
it?
PDF,
Like, I, at least for right now, can't back into her number.
yeah.
Like, I don't know if her ERI cost is also including the lump sum.
Well, you can't go by just saying, and that's one of the things that I tried to tell everybody, we can't, there's no way we can figure this out. Because I know when Mr. Grammer was talking about it, he said, you know, it should only cost X number of dollars. Well, what he was figuring was the cost of the wages times the IMRF rate. Well, that's not just the cost. You have to, when a person retires, IMRF sets aside a certain number of dollars to cover that person's annuity for the rest of their life. If, for instance, the person, you know, for whatever reason, only lives for 8 years, then there's money left in that annuity, which then goes back in the county's money. If they live for 40 years, then there has to be more money put in that comes out of the county's money, and that's how that rate and that actuary study is done. So you can't just say their salary is this amount, the county's rate is 11.19, and that's what it's going to cost the county. Because you have to put enough money out of our account into that pool for that individual employee in order to, because they're going to be drawing more money in their retirement. You know, 5 years additional service on their retirement. So that's why I say we can't figure that out. I don't know how that's figured, and they don't give that information to me.
Okay.
So, yeah, if it could have been simple, we would have known to begin with, but
Right.
Is there like a rate of interest we pay if we do like 5 or 10?
7.5.
7.5. And I also found out, I think it's in the letter portion or the informational portion of it that says, you remember me talking to you and telling you that a new rate doesn't go into effect for 2 years? You do get charged interest for those years, 7.5% interest for those 2 years before the rate actually goes into effect. That's on this sheet. It's a third paragraph. Yeah, third section down, timing of cost. We will charge your employer 7.5% interest the following year that your employer has an outstanding ERI balance at the beginning of the year. This report reflects estimated employer cost of ERI. So in essence, you don't get away scot-free for the first 2 years. You have to pay the interest on the. So there's still one part in here that I still don't understand and I don't agree with. On the second page of the letter information under retirement dates, it says the ERI legislation provides flexibility for employers by allowing the governing body, which is Union County, to determine when a member retires. Now that specifically states right there, in my mind, that you can decide when people that are going to retire underneath that plan, when their retirement date's going to be. IMRF, I got an email from IMRF that says that is not the way it is, that just gives you the capability of planning what's going to happen during that year. Because you have to let them retire before July 1st anyway if they want to. You have to give them a 30-day notice. So in instance, if you decided to do this on the next board meeting, which is what?
22nd?
Say you okay this on the 22nd, you have to give everybody a 30-day notice that it's happening, but an employee can waive that. So you give them a 30-day notice, which puts you up to December, that they could actually go ahead and retire waive the 30-day notice to go ahead and retire before that. They don't have to wait before that. But then this kind of contradicts what it says. And that came from their attorneys up there, that this wasn't, I don't understand the wording. I understand the wording here, I just think it contradicts what the attorney's saying. Because that's what you're doing it for. You're doing it for the benefit to save money and help, and that's what it's there for. That's why the ERI is there, to help the counties, the state, or whoever it is to save money, and you have to determine if that's going to happen or not. So it makes sense that they would allow you to say, no, we want everybody to retire as soon as possible, but that's not what the email got, and I can get you a copy of that email that states that also. I mean, actually, when it says the ERI legislation provides flexibility for employers by allowing the governing body to determine when the member retires, terminates employment. That's pretty plain. I mean, but you can't, with the windows open from, as of this preliminary draft of this study, from December 1st, 2017 to December 1st, 2018, they don't have to file the notice of intent. They're recommended to file it at the very beginning. They don't have to file it. They could come in November the 30th of next year, or say October 30th, to make sure they got their first payment, retirement payment, and file their notice of intent with their application for retirement, and then they would be included in on the, because they've done it within that 1 year open time frame. Another thing I did find out is there's no going back. In essence, you have to be a participating employee in order to be eligible for the early retirement incentive. It used to not be that way. There used to be a window that they actually went back so many months, and if you retired within that window, then you were eligible for the ERI. But that's no longer the case. There again, you're not going to have everybody retire. Like I said, 5 or 6 actually either said they would or said they were actually thinking, seriously considering it. So,
Well, I think we were initially looking at it maybe 5 or so anyway,
right.
as far as possible.
It also, if you look on here, in this preliminary study, you have on each one of these, for the SLEP and for the regular, on the last page of each one, it gives you the individual's name, social security number or ID number, and what the ERI cost for that individual is. So if we knew for sure how many was going to retire under it, you could then look at that EIR cost, add those up, and you would know what your. And there are some of them that just say absolutely not. We can't do it. Matter of fact, a lot of them said that they wouldn't be interested in it.
Well, to firm up the cost and expense and so forth, I mean, we're just gonna have to
Let's run some numbers.
run those numbers and check with those that, you know, there's nothing wrong with asking.
Oh, no, I mean, there's, that's what you want to know. You want to know what your numbers are, as close as possible.
I will tell you that, Max, what you asked earlier, if these were in line with what we looked at, they're not. Because the way we calculated it before was just the salary times the employer's rate times 5 years. And these are more than double that,
Yes.
so.
And that's
it'll be higher.
That's simply because the retiree is going to be drawing longer.
Right.
They're going to be drawing more. So, but like I said, if for some reason they're not, you know, that when they set that money aside, and I'm just going to use myself as instance, say they set $500,000 aside, and I'm just pulling numbers out of the air here, I don't have any idea what they would be, but said they would set $500,000 aside for my retirement. I live for 5 years. The expectation in IMRF is 15 to 20 years. I think it's 20 is what they're actually figuring now. That money, that $500,000, I wouldn't be drawing out in that amount of time, so that whatever's left over in that would go back over in Union County's
Which then would
main
drive our
pot.
rate lower, is that what it would do?
Yes.
Then lower your rate?
Yes. So,
I guess the biggest question I have from looking through here, and we'll have to ask her, is she has the lump sum, she has the salaries and then that lump sum payment,
mhm.
and then the ERI cost. And I just don't know if the ERI cost includes the lump sum payment, or if we're gonna have the ERI cost and the lump sum payment.
Yeah, that was a question I had too. I didn't know for sure what, exactly what that was, how they figured that. And that'll be very easy to find out. And like I said, I didn't get this till, it came at 2:19 on Friday afternoon. And I had therapy I had to leave for therapy, so actually whenever I got this, I had already left the office.
Well, I'm assuming we're in agreement to go ahead and proceed and look at the numbers.
Yes. Dale. Yeah, I think we do. We need to scan an email and copies and send it to Commissioner Russell and Commissioner Ireland.
Got it?
I've got it in PDF, so I can email it to them.
That works.
But we definitely need to find out what you're talking about there on that ERI cost thing.
Yeah, I
Included or not.
I don't think, just my initial feeling is the ERI cost is the total amount. The lump sum wages, I think, is completely something separate. That may be what they're, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't even want to say.
I'm assuming the category, if that's what you're asking, lump sum wages is probably their vacation and sick days and all the stuff that were, but what I don't know is if they added that cost into our ERI cost, just to show this is what you're gonna have to pay out.
Well, I think maybe some of that might be answered in this. Yeah, I think the safest thing is to just ask her that question
Yeah.
and find out for sure on that. And then you saw the schedule in here. If you paid off in 5 years, it's 1.157 million, all the way up to 10 years, 1.385.
So the commissioners pick how many years they wanna pay it over?
Yes, you guys decide what you want to, how you want to do it.
But we can't go up to 10 years. Well, again, I think that would have a bearing on, you get a little closer look on how many and a little closer number total.
Right, I'll crunch numbers.
Yeah, because there's no way they can tell there at IMRF which ones are gonna, even though we went through, somebody could change their mind.
Yeah.
You know, and the only thing we can do is just talk to the individuals again and let them know. And if you do pass this, that doesn't mean somebody can't change their mind and say, I'm not gonna do it also. It doesn't require them to do that, but if you do pass it, IMRF has to do either a conference call or meet in person here. And I think what we've decided, I'll let her know that we want to do a conference call. If you do pass and decide to pass it after these answers or questions are answered, then we can get that scheduled and get this going for it.
Speed up the process.
How do we need to proceed then as far as the budget? If we worked, it has to be put on the agenda before we could pass or not pass it.
Yes.
So it would have to be a special meeting in order to do that.
Unless you put it on, if you want to get the budget on file by the 15th, then you have to, if you're going to do this, then you need to pass this. That's up to you guys. I mean, this could be put on next meeting to pass it. But if you decide, if we get the answers for you, the longer you wait, the longer it's going to take. If we get the numbers and you decide to do it, then what I would suggest is have a special meeting to pass it so we can go ahead and move forward with it. If not, then it's not going to matter.
Your next regular meeting's next Wednesday.
It's the 22nd.
Yeah, which is Wednesday.
Where are you as far as putting it, the figures together for the budget and being able to meet with office holders?
For the rest of the items?
Yeah.
I mean, we still have some work to do on that, but, I mean, it's coming along.
Okay.
It also depends on whether or not what you decide to do with this.
Right. It's whatever you guys think as far as, if we need to adjourn this one and call a special meeting before we continue with the budget, as far as making a decision.
Before next Wednesday, you mean?
Yeah, it needs 48 hours notice for a
Right,
special,
right.
so.
Doesn't matter to me, or,
So the soonest you could have a meeting would be Thursday.
Thursday, yeah.
are we going to know right then what we need to know for this? Questions answered?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I can run these numbers. I'm assuming Terry, once you make that phone call, she's been really responsive, so she'll probably
Yeah.
get us answers.
I think she'll give us an answer within probably an hour of the time I email her.
Right.
She's been very responsive on it. She did tell me that it would take 2 weeks to get this, and it took less than 2 weeks, so.
Are the other commissioners gonna be available later in the week, or do you know?
That I do not know.
I think, I don't know about the rest of us, but I think Dan was available Thursday.
He was just not available today.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's fine with me, if you want to do that. I don't have a problem.
Okay. Well, before we get to closing this one down, does anyone have any public comments?
I do.
Yes.
I was hoping the human resource person would be here because some of us went through this, with the state, so we have a little bit of input. I would hope that she or someone who's knowledgeable in this would sit with the possible recipients of this, because in my mind, most of them that would be interested in this are not eligible for Medicare yet. And so, they will not have any insurance except for what they buy through the county. And that's a significant thing now, and I would hope that somebody could sit and go through those options with them. The other thing, did I understand you, Terry, to say that, for example, somebody in the sheriff's office would take 90 days sick leave to pay for, use that to pay for their time. That's the way we did with the state.
Yeah, anybody that has any accumulated time, we have to forward that directly to IMRF. We cannot give it to the employee, we have to forward it to them.
But like if they had 90 sick days and say, I want to use that, then you guys would be paying that amount too. Not you guys, we, the county, would be paying that amount too, right?
Mhm.
So that's.
Which we're going to pay, have to pay that sometime or another anyway.
Right, regardless of when they retire, you would be doing that.
Right.
The other thing is, when I talked to Scott, what was concerning him also was, for example, if he lost 3, he said it should be included in the consideration, the cost would be the training, you know, because they have a short list now of possible replacements, so I would ask that you consider that in your considerations, is the cost of training. You know, the replacement. Assuming, I would assume you're gonna have to, those people would have to be replaced in the sheriff's office, I would assume. So, I just ask that you consider all that. And that someone, I hope, sits with employees and, because we actually, Todd, we didn't really benefit, did we, when we were offered early out through the state? There were so many questions unanswered that, and it was kind of a hurry up thing, like I'm kind of afraid this is starting to look like. And it's just that sometimes something that is too good to be true is that way for a reason. So I hope somebody who is knowledgeable and everything will sit down with the potential employees. We did not have that benefit.
Well, IMRF itself will hold a meeting or a conference call with those interested to answer any questions concerning that. The retirees already have a supplemental payment from the county to help with their insurance cost. So that is kind of already been addressed with that. If you guys want to chime in here or anything else, there are associated costs, like you said, replacing personnel in the sheriff's department for training or anything. And I'm sure that they're all going to look at they've asked us to gather all this information, and I've told them that, you know, anything that I can do to help make sure they get all this information together, and Angie, to make this a decision with all the information and everything they can put together. I can assure you that they're not looking at this without looking at all the cost. They're doing this to look for savings, and if it doesn't save money for the county, I can assure you they're not going to do that. This is not something to get rid of employees. This is something to help with budgetary matters and costs by the
I know
county.
the purpose of it, yeah, but I was also concerned about the insurance, and I don't know how much you pay, supplement you pay, but insurance is such a big deal anymore. Those of us who took early out before we were eligible for Medicare, state of Illinois was paying for ours, you know, for our insurance, and that was a big deal.
See, most people with IMRF, and I know it's the same way with the regular state retirement, you're eligible for full benefits without any cuts at age 60. So a lot of people retire at age 60 anyway, so they're actually retiring before they're eligible for Medicare at that point.
No, well, we weren't, but state of Illinois, it wasn't that way. We were eligible.
No, I'm not saying they're not eligible. They're not eligible at 60. But most people retire, a lot of people retire at IMRF with their full benefits at age 60. The only way they can get more benefits or not take a cut is to work more years.
Right.
But for every month that you don't work under the age of 60, you take a 0.25% cut in your actual retirement benefit. So if you retire 5 years early, you're going to take a 15% cut. With the early retirement incentive, it gets rid of that because you're buying that 5 years. But there's a lot of people that go ahead and retire 60, 62 that aren't eligible for Medicare anyway.
Right.
I mean, my father did. He didn't take early retirement. He retired at age 60 from the Schultz Mental Health, And, you know, he had to pay,
Right.
well, he didn't have to pay because he was state employee, he didn't have to
Right,
pay
yeah,
insurance
it's paid
costs.
for,
He
yeah.
paid something, I think, or whatever, but,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, we've been fighting it, you know, they're trying to take that benefit away, but that's another battle.
We've had that conversation with a few of them on the health insurance, and we're not overlooking that, I can assure you. And, again, this conference call also is designed for their protection too, and that's why that has to happen before anything else can happen.
Right,
Yeah, that conference call will be with those, with that group of employees that are eligible, to make sure that they know everything and get all the information. When I talked to Ms. Fine from IMRF, and she asked me what I had discussed with them, I went over everything that Angie and I discussed with the employees, and she said, you have discussed most of the stuff that I have to discuss. Not completely, but almost all of it, but she said, I literally have to, it's required by MRF for us to either have a conference call or a meeting with those employees to tell them the liabilities they're going to face, everything like that. So everybody's going to know, they're going to know what they're going to face before they go into this blind. They're not going to go into a blind.
yeah, that's good. We didn't have that opportunity, and we were in a time crunch, which most of us, you know, we came out okay anyhow, but not everybody did.
Right.
And you know, that's important, of course, that people know exactly what they're doing. Now, they do not get 5 years added onto their age?
Yes.
Or they do get 5 added on?
So they get 5 on their age.
5 on their
5
age,
return.
whatever they need,
Is it
you
the
know.
rule of 85?
No,
We don't have that.
They don't have that now anymore.
No. So if, in essence, what they do is they can buy up to 5 years. That means up to 5 years of service and 5 years on your age. So if you're 55 years old, if you retired right now at 55, you take a 15%